We're sisters, best friends, and authors on a mission to help you stoke your creative fire and live the life of your dreams. We believe that purpose fuels passion and that creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. There's never been a better time to bless the world with your dream realized. You're listening to The Kate and Abby Show.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Kate and Abby Show. We're so happy to see you here today. We're delving into a very relevant topic, which is how to eliminate distractions and get in the right headspace to write. So many of us, creative writers and screenwriters and novel writers, we want to have time to spend with our books and our works in progress, right? But sometimes we're just so distracted that it's almost impossible to find our way into that headspace, that sweet spot of feeling totally focused and in tune with our craft and not pulled in a million different directions. And Abby and I know firsthand that in today's world, there's so much going on now more than ever. There's so many different things vying for our attention that it can be hard to land here and now in the present moment. But that is exactly what we're going to attempt to help and encourage you guys to do today with some tips that we personally use on a daily basis to help us stay focused while we write. But first,
we have to thank our sponsors, who are you guys. You're the ones who support this podcast and keep it going, and we love you guys so much. We so appreciate your support. So if you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abby Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. So let's get into it. I think this is a super relevant topic, like you said, because it's an unprecedented time of just so many distractions, so much going on in the world. And it's hard sometimes to be creative in times like this, where you can really like escape into your own world of creativity and be creative, you know, find the inspiration and the joy. And I think creativity really does require an element of joy and happiness in order to create and inspire others. So what are some things that you do actively now, maybe even more so now than a couple of years ago, to really focus on your creative path and don't let anything else distract you or pull you off the path?
So one of the things I've done and I've really delved into over the past 3+ years of my life is to eliminate my phone from my life as much as possible. Now, I know for a lot of people, they don't have any other really method of communication other than their phone. So I'm certainly not saying eliminate it from your life completely, because we need to be able to get in touch with someone and, you know, for safety reasons and all that, for work. For a lot of people, they hear me talk about, you know, not having a phone, and they're like, well, I could never do that because I need it for work and I need it for, you know, my kids and my family. And I totally understand that. And I need it for those reasons often too. And so the thing is we can still live without the constant presence of our phone in our lives by simply being mindful about how we're using a phone. Are we getting sucked down the rabbit hole of social media? Do we have social media apps we don't need on our phone? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Really, there's only a few things you need on your phone for work or for communication with your family, which is like text messaging and actually calling someone. And all the other things could really be erased if we're to be truly deeply honest with ourselves, except for maybe rare cases where your job requires you to have something. So if you can eliminate those distractions, those notifications, those constant stream of interruptions, do so. Or give yourself a timer of like, hey, for this hour, I'm going to shut my phone off and I'm going to have a focused writing time. I'm going to pay respect to myself and to my craft by shutting off my phone for this 1 hour. 1 hour of your day. That's really not a lot. And when you think about it, maybe you have like a favorite TV show or a favorite series, and when a new episode of that comes out, you're probably laser focused in on that. You probably answer very few phone calls, very few messages. You're probably like absorbed in that. Well, doesn't your craft deserve the same amount of respect as like a series that you're looking forward to watching or a movie you're watching, right? So just think of it that way. Think of it as, I'm going to pay respect to my craft and give myself this time, whether it's by timing yourself and having that hour or so of no phone usage, or by being mindful about how you're using your device. It's really about creating a writing sanctuary and slimming down distractions, which is something we've talked about in previous episodes. Creating a calming environment in which you are more prone to be creative. Because when you think about it, we're more creative when we have less clutter, both mentally and around us physically. So when we have constant distractions, either coming through our phone or even in the environment with us, it makes it more difficult to create. And for some of you out there who are, parents, you might be thinking, well, I have distractions 24/7 with my kids and maybe pets and, running around the house, and I never have 1 hour of uninterrupted time. Well, what we can do is then, what are the interruptions that we can control? Right. So eliminate those ones, and you'll find that it will probably feel completely different, because yes, we all have interruptions that we can't avoid sometimes. But what are the ones that we can change? And let's be mindful and proactive about those.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that what you were saying is so helpful with the timer, even just setting aside a certain block of time to be creative. That's oftentimes what I do when I don't have the whole day to write, or I don't have, designated space in my schedule to write, but I have an hour or I have a couple of hours, even at the end of the day, where I can break free from the world, from all distractions, from everything else that's going on. And it really is like a sanctuary. It feels like an escape, like an oasis. And I think if you can make your writing feel like that, it's no longer a thing that you're doing. It's no longer something that you have to check off your to-do list or something you have to do in order to feel accomplished. It's almost therapeutic, and it helps to balance out the rush and chaos of the rest of your life, the rest of your schedule. And another way that I do this is through doing Write With Me live streams, which I do on my channel often. And actually, I'm going to do a Write With Me live stream this Saturday on my channel. So if you guys want to join me for that, anybody listening, head over to my channel, which is youtube.com/Abby Emmons, and subscribe so that you don't miss the live stream, which is going to happen on Saturday.
And if you guys are listening in the future, Abby does these on a pretty regular basis.
Yes.
So you can always subscribe to her channel and you'll get updated about when she does future ones, because this is something you've kind of created a community around.
Yeah, it's super cool because I started doing this, I think, last year or possibly the year before. I can't remember. I think it was the year before, but it has been a really cool experience to be able to connect with writers all over the world and kind of create this sanctuary, like you're saying, and have this sort of virtual clubhouse where we can all hang out and write together. And it's helped me a lot as well, because sometimes I get so caught up in work and all the things I have to do that I don't make time for writing. But if I have a Write With Me live stream planned, it's so fun because I can just kind of shut off every other distraction and get in the zone and write with everybody else. And it's very freeing. But I try to make room in my schedule, even if I don't schedule it, even if it just happens to be that I have a couple of free hours at the end of the day or in the morning when I first get up. I prefer when I first get up because there are really no distractions when you first wake up in the morning. If you haven't turned on the news, if you hadn't looked at your phone and you haven't been reading emails or social media or any exposure to anything that's happening outside of your personal space, you can really start with a blank slate, which I find very inspiring, and it just really helps me to be creative and to get into that bubble of no distractions. When I first wake up in the morning, it's a new day and really nothing has happened yet to you in your personal space. And regardless of what might be happening elsewhere, you can create this sanctuary in your personal space where you are free and you are awake and aware of the inspiration and creativity that's possible for you today, whatever that means to you. So I try to grasp that first moment when I first wake up in the morning, because I find that I'm the most creative then. And even if it's not in my schedule, even if I have a busy day ahead of me, taking that first 30 minutes or an hour while I have my tea to kind of work on something playful and creative. It doesn't even matter if I'm writing specifically. It could be outlining, it could be plotting, it could be anything, something creative.
Before anything else is clouding your mind.
Yeah.
I find that too. Like the morning is absolutely my most creative time, because it's like you were saying, before anything else starts invading your mental space, really. Before you have to think about other things. And for other people, it might be the reverse. If you're someone who has to get up early and go to work, maybe it's evening feels like that to you, when it's like, oh, okay, I took the work shoes off and now I can do something I want to do. And then maybe, flip it around. If that's the time when you feel like everything's off your mind, you can still apply everything that you just talked about to that. But, yeah, for me personally, the morning has always been the time when I feel most creative. And I think it's chiefly because there's not a bunch of distractions in my head yet from the rest of the day. I haven't really done anything. And it's just that purity of mind, that mental clarity.
Right. Yeah, that's, I think, a really good moment to capture. Whenever that moment appears in your day, capture it and chase the butterflies of creativity, as I like to call it.
I love that. That's so cool. And it's playful. Find the playfulness in it.
Yeah.
And another thing I do in the morning, oftentimes before I write, and I find that this makes such a huge difference for my day in general and for my writing session, is practicing meditation. And meditation is something that I like to always demystify on my channel, and whenever we've talked about it here on the podcast, is it doesn't have to be, sitting in lotus for an hour, chanting a phrase, or even doing like any specific type of meditation. It can be taking 5 minutes to kind of create a little buffer zone between the rest of your day, what you've done so far, and now your creative time. It allows the waves of your mind to settle, to calm, to just come back to yourself, come back to stillness, come back to center, and breathe mindfully. Notice your breath, notice what you're grateful for in this moment. And it's such a peaceful practice. It brings such a stillness and peace, and it helps to clear my mind so much, especially if I've worked on anything. If I wasn't able to write first thing and if I had to work on other things, it creates that buffer zone of being able to allow my mental space to calm down, and I create from a much more centered place of clarity. I've actually created a course specifically for creative writers who want to try meditation, even if it's something you've never tried before and you're wondering, how can I find a place of rooted stillness where I feel grounded? I don't feel pulled in a million different directions. I strongly believe that meditation is a wonderful way to just bring yourself back to the present moment. And that's why I created my course with creative writers in mind, and just anyone in mind. It's not for some specific person who has practiced meditation for a long time. If you've never practiced meditation before, it's perfect for you. And they're 100% guided by me. So I'm just guiding you through this very personal experience of experiencing meditation in your own way. It's very personal for each one of us. So it's a guided meditation with this idea in mind that we can actually use meditation to make our writing more connected and to allow ourselves to be more creative. So if that's something you're interested in checking out, I will link that below in the description of the YouTube version of this podcast episode, and you can check that out. It's a carefully curated step-by-step course that I walk you through how to use meditation to connect to deeper creativity. And it's a 7-day course. So you can check that out if you want to. And meditation is something I think that so many people just think of as an overly complicated thing and something you have to do for a long time, but really even taking 5 minutes to just sit and breathe or go outside and breathe the fresh air for a few minutes before you get started on your project can really make such a world of difference instead of sitting down with a cluttered mental space and trying to sift through that and create something from it.
Yeah, 100%. I've found that when I've meditated, and you can chime in and tell me if you've experienced this as well, oftentimes when you are getting really quiet with yourself and just focusing on the present moment, a lot of times I've noticed that some deeper seated feelings and emotions and thoughts will come up to me that I maybe have not been acknowledging. And those emotions and feelings and just ideas, I think, are potentially constructive for your creative life.
Yeah.
And you might have just been not acknowledging them because you're so busy, you're so distracted, you're so caught up in all the things that you have to do all the time. And I think that's worth mentioning, especially with like so much going on in the world around us all the time, that we don't have, as creatives, we don't have to like escape from it completely. Like we should acknowledge the emotions and the ideas and thoughts that everything creates in us and see how can you turn that into something constructive. You know, like we always say in our intro, that your creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. And that's so true, because what you have, your unique ideas and passions and emotions are worth sharing with others. And I think that things like meditation can help you to connect to that deeper part of yourself that really is impacted by whatever is going on in your life. Right. And to tune into that in a way that you can take your emotions, take your passions and your ideas and turn them into something that's worth sharing with others.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really great point, is that when we settle down and become quiet and still with ourselves, we are connecting, we are aligning with our true being and our more creative self. Yeah. It's in the stillness and the absence of noise, all the clutter and the noise that the world presents us with, that we can truly connect with who we truly are and our creativity. And like you were saying, a lot of times emotions and streams of thought that we wouldn't have really connected with otherwise will start to come up in that stillness. And that's where we get some of our best ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that a lot of times I think writers get distracted trying to find the next good idea, like outside of yourself, and you're actively searching for it, but it might already be there in your subconscious and you just haven't taken the time to be quiet and acknowledge it.
Right. That's a great point. And I know for you, and a huge thing you do, and this is a bit about getting into the meditative zone of writing, is using playlists.
Yes. Yeah, music is so instrumental, no pun intended, in getting into the writing zone for me. And we were laughing the other day about how like I will go through such a varied combination of music in any given writing day. But it's so helpful to find what inspires you in music specifically and use that as a tool for creative inspiration. And I have taken this love of music. I've always had a deep love of music and have always been a musician since I was very young. Still really enjoy playing the piano and singing. And that's another thing that really helps me to get into the creative zone sometimes. It's just like doing something simple and fun, like playing the piano, that gets me into a different mindset, sort of, you know, like I'm no longer...
Gets your creative energy flowing.
Yeah. It's kind of out of the intellectual brain and into the artistic brain, and it's fun and easy and just for me. I'm not trying to perform for anybody else.
Right.
I'm just enjoying the art of creating something. But that's beside the point. As far as listening to music while you're writing can be deeply immersive, and I actually have taken this idea and started to create more content on my channel based on this. And I've started creating immersive writing sessions, as I call them, to kind of bring writers into that zone of whatever given genre or mood or setting you're writing. So I recently posted one that was like a dark fantasy.
I love that one. It's
dark
so
academia.
cool. It's so cool. For any of you guys who are
Yes.
fantasy writers, go check it out because it just makes my heart hum. I love it.
I'm so glad it has your
much.
approval because
Oh, it's
Kate's
so
the
cool.
fantasy expert
Yeah.
among us.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And all the like scenes going by. I know this sounds like really like a silly observation, but like the visuals are awesome. They're so cool.
Well, thank
They're
you.
so inspiring. They just get you in the mood.
Yeah.
And like all the sound, like the soundscape, the music, it all just matches so well. It's so immersive. It is. It's really immersive.
Oh, that's what I wanted. I wanted to make something immersive because I use these tools all the time. I will listen to soundtracks and layer them with ambient background noise.
Right.
And like make Pinterest boards that are the aesthetic. So I'm like, how can I take all of these, the visuals, the audio, the music, and blend it together to kind of create this atmospheric world that writers can step into. And I've seen similar things done on YouTube before, but I wanted to make my own that's like really custom built for writers, built in with a timer. So I use the Pomodoro method. That's what I'd use on my Write With Me live streams, if you're familiar with those. So we do 4 writing sprints of 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 5-minute breaks in between. And so I kind of took that structure for a writing session and built it into the immersive music and visuals. So it basically, you can show up in that video, you can click play on that video and have it playing in the background or on your TV or something, and just slip right into the writing mood. That's what I hope those immersive writing sessions do anyway. So I'm going to keep making them for different genres, and I'm really excited to make more.
Yeah, those are so cool. I love them. And these are all free resources, guys, that are available on Abby's YouTube channel. I mean, this is not like a course to go buy. This is like free stuff on her channel that is awesome resources for getting in that right headspace for writing. And I find that I love guided things because it really takes the pressure off of me to have to, if I feel lacking in motivation or something, I can just turn on a guided video and follow along, and it becomes more meditative because I'm not having to constantly keep myself in check on like, okay, am I staying focused? I have the encouragement and accountability of a guided video, of a guided meditation, of a guided yoga practice to just follow along, and it just makes it more relaxing. It feels like you have someone doing it with you instead of doing it on your own. So I think that's one of the nice things too about your immersive writing sessions is that you don't have to time yourself. The video is doing it for you, and you don't have to time your break. The video is doing it for you, and it's like guiding you through the writing session. So I think that can be really helpful, especially when you feel maybe like a little bit of a lack of inspiration or, kind of tired or burnt out. Just like press play and see what happens.
Yeah, very true. That's the hardest part, honestly, is just showing up for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think if you can show up for yourself, the hardest part is over. And it's just a matter of really breaking free from distractions, from anything that is not immediately mattering to you and your creative process. And I know that is so much easier said than done, but hopefully all the tips that Kate and I have shared today will help you to find that freedom and that flow. So yeah, that's pretty much like all the things that I do. I try to get focused right away in the morning because I find that creativity comes to me best in the morning. I have a fresh, clean slate of hopefully a good night's sleep, and you can really choose. You can be the active hero of your own story, okay? We talk about active and passive characters all the time on my channel. Don't be a passive character in your own creative life. Don't let life bump into you. Don't let social media bump into you. Don't be a punching bag for the media or whatever is happening around you. You can choose your own path. You can choose to be the active hero of your story and choose to have the life that you want. Even if you can't commit all of your time in the day to it, figure out a time that you can commit to it and stick with that. Show up for yourself. You'll be very proud of yourself that you did, and you'll be happy because you'll have creative energy in your life and you'll have something beautiful that you made during that time.
Right. Even if it's just an hour a day, think about a year from now, an hour a day, every day. Let's say you mess up and don't get to it a few days. Okay. 300 days. That's 300 hours. A year from now, 300 hours, that could be a book.
Yeah.
So don't ever belittle the fact that, oh, I can't spend 6 hours a day writing. You don't need to, you know? Just give what you can to your project and pay it the respect that it deserves.
Well said. I agree 100%. So hopefully you guys got some goodness out of this episode. Hopefully you took some notes or found some inspiration from what we talked about today. Comment below if you're on YouTube and share with us what helps you to break free from distractions and focus on your creative projects. We would love to hear from you guys. We always love to hear your feedback. Tell us what you thought of this episode. And if you're listening on another platform, give us a nice rating. We always appreciate those so much. And again, thank you to our patrons for supporting this show. If you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abby Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. Check out all the fun resources that we have linked below, and we will see you guys next time. Until then,
stay stoked
and rock on.